Hey, welcome. It's Nate Ellerton, Nate Wood Sculpting. Welcome to my shop. I'm excited tonight to carve a little bit, share a little bit of wisdom while I carve. We're going to talk about life and limits and all the decisions we have to make and all the opportunities we have for everything. And so I'm going to show you around the shop here for a second before we get into everything. Let some people get cracking, know we're here. Be incredible. So I don't know what you've been carving. I have been working on a couple things. I want to show them to you. Started kind of working on this, doing a little power carving. When I was in Tennessee, I did some power carving lessons with Billy Reynolds. Carve this over here. I'm gonna finish that out and started that one. This is going to be a man of four seasons. I'm gonna have a beard, some winter, some summer. Gonna do some spring, some flower. I'm gonna do a leaf in here for fall. That's what's on the bench there. Just some other of my carvings I got going on. I'm gonna start blocking this guy out. And butternut, finish this guy, put some feed and wax on him, some Howards. It looks pretty good. Big piece of red cedar. And yeah, working on this guy too. This bust ran into some trouble with the neck. I'm not sure what I'm going to do about that, but I'm going to turn this off because it is buzzing. So I'm going to carve here. Hope everybody here is doing all right. Hope we got some time to carve. I've been working on this, and I have been using a picture, and I find it helpful to use a picture. Otherwise, I carve the same thing and I make the same mistakes. So carving from a picture or portrait's really helpful. And yeah, it's important. So I'm going to strap this thing in here. And I'm going to talk about eyes. While I'm carving eyes, I'm going to talk a little bit about living life with limits, but let me get this thing in here for us. All right. You can see that well. Yeah. Dad, I do have a lot of projects going on at once, that's for sure. But it's my ADD, I think. I do like to get some things going on at one time. But that's a cool thing. And I'm going to tell you what we got going on here um, before we get into it too much. But I got to do one thing. I got to put out my incense over here. Get rid of that. So a lot of things that really bog carvers down is eyes. And I've been taught to do eyes a couple different ways. Um, I'm going to teach you the way that I was taught. And when I was in Tennessee, I got to carve with Billy Reynolds. Billy Reynolds, a great carver down in Gatlinburg. Used to have a studio down there. The man that got me into carving was taught by Billy, but these are Billy's eyes, and they're pretty great. This is a carving. This is a Billy Reynolds original. Uh, Somebody had splattered a little paint on it. Must have been me. But you can see his eyes. They're used by a micro torque or a little micro. Um, Very cool. Very cool carving. Just it's not that thick of stuff. We think it's got to be super thick to carve, but it doesn't. Not at all. So I got to carve with Billy Reynolds for 6 hours a few weeks ago. As the first carving lesson he did in a couple years. So I consider myself very fortunate to carve with them, and I was very thankful for that. Um, but we're gonna carve an eye here, and I'm gonna teach you two ways to do eyes, and then you do the eyes the way you want. But this is just a little piece of bark, and I got a bunch of this from a tree that fell down. This bark really isn't bad for Michigan bark. Um, So I was glad to get a few pieces of that so you can practice on, even do little faces or whimsical things on it. Because getting my bark from Canada with the tariffs is out of my price range now. This is a piece of cottonwood bark from Northwest Ohio. And what I've done is I've mounted the eyes and pretend there's a nose here. This is a nose. This is a nose. And the way that I'm going to teach you the way that I was taught to do eyes by the teacher that was taught by Billy is first, the eye is the length of the bridge of the nose. So, however wide this nose is, the eye is. And I hope you have one of these that you can measure thirds and you can measure, let's see, the nose is this wide, so the eye will be this wide because the eye is the width of the nose. And what I used to do that is wrong, I used to start my eye way in here. That's completely wrong because nobody's eye starts down in the low spot. Let's say his nose is this wide. Okay, let's go. Let's say his nose is this wide. All right. And so you're going to start your eye out a little bit and you're just going to make a couple marks here so you know how wide that eye is going to be. And so it'll be straight across. And I think of it as just kind of going up and going over. I'm going to have to use a darker pen so I can see here. You got to draw an eye first. I mean, some people don't, but I do. Going up, and you're going down, and there's that bend, which would be over here, but just teaching you the eye. And a lot of people go down here and like would do this because that's what we think an eye looks like. But our eyes aren't round. They're very small, thin almonds. So the bottom side really doesn't go that far down compared to the top. But you got to draw it, carve it. And so this is nothing, right? This is the eye. And so instead of just cutting it, like I used to just cut it, I was I learned that if I will just score it first, it tends not to crack or flake this it tends to not crack or flake the cottonwood bark. So if I just score that first, just get it going a little bit, okay? And then I call my eye knife, which is just a really nice Helvy little one, and I just love these handles. And then I cut it. And when I cut it, I do put on magnifiers. My bifocals don't always work great. And I get right into it here. And I'm going to use both hands so I got good control. So I can make that turn and bring it out. Okay? See that eye. Now notice I had the mound already done. That would be how you set up the eye, not a giant mound. You don't want frog eyes, but just a mound done. And then I'm just gonna bring this back. And for that, I'm gonna switch knives here. I go to this kind of skew. Look at that. Still good. Such a good knife. Okay. Coming up, that top lid's gonna be bigger. Bring this down. Remember, an eye doesn't slant out, it slants in. And so I'm not gonna dig up in there a lot because I'm gonna have to slant this down. So what I wanted to talk tonight while I carve this, and a little bit of wisdom, which not everybody appreciates. Can everybody hear me okay? If you can hear me okay, let me know. Back up in there. So now we're going to draw that bottom lid again. Again, it's not going to be as high up as the other. It's going to be almost straight across, down a little bit. Not a lot. Okay. Take my knife, and you don't need one of these. You can use anything you want. Ugh, I'm not gonna score that. Again, I'm getting right into this. And eyes are so important. You can do good eyes. Uh, just make carvings pop. And then I'm gonna take this knife. I'm gonna take that corner out. See that? I'm gonna pyramid cut this, which means I'm gonna cut. And I'm gonna cut. I'm gonna take my knife and cut again. I'm gonna go in there. This is rounding this eye. Got to do this again. You might have to do this a couple times. Cut, push in, cut, then your third cut. I was always taught that's called a pyramid cut, but a little more. Man, it's flaky. Flaky. Living life with limits. I think one of the greatest lessons I learned is that I am limited. We hate that. Americans hate the idea that you would be limited. Because Barney's told us since we were little, we can do anything we want to do, right? Just do anything you want to do. All good. Okay, you can hear me? Great. Thank you. We're all limited in some ways. So that's a basic of an eye right there. Okay. And if you see, sometimes I'll bring this in, but you've got your bag of the eye. I'm gonna get rid of some of this writing so you can see. You can do the top of the eye and give it a little again, you're gonna follow that lid. Remember, the lowest point on our face is the deepest point is the outside of the eye. The inside right here is low too, but not quite as low. Yeah. You can just score it along the bottom. Now that's the basic structure of an eye. And of course, if you're adding uh, age to it, you can do some crow's feet out here. There you go. And if now that's an eye, but that eye's not completed because we got to put in the pupil. And so the pupil of the eye, I like the way Vic Hood does it. I really like the way Alec Lacasse does it. Doesn't do either way, but Vic Hood actually burns this out in here, so it's black in there, like a couple of my carvings I showed you before. But we're gonna come in with the Microtech, and we're gonna hit this right there, which kind of I'm gonna bring it down more, make it a little thinner. And we want to add some shadowing there. Again, man, I'm using my magnifiers. I want to get right into it. This is a diamond bit, really thin one. I'm not going to try to take it all at once. We're just going to draw it first. And then each pass, I'm going to go a little deeper. shaping that inside the way I want it. Now I'm angling this out a little bit just to add tear duct a little bit in there. Keep blowing it. Step back, see what you like. There you go. Look at that. Okay. See that? Shape it a little bit if it doesn't look a half moon. That's good, huh? Limited. Yeah. Cruise feet. And then you can even add, if you're aging the eye, you can add some bags under the eyes, you know? Maybe you want to, or you can even drag this, make some bags. Look at that. Look at that. It's a pretty good eye for a practice eye. Wish it was on a real carving. There we go. Didn't like the crow's feet dug in there, but hey, that's it. That's an eye. So again, practice stick. You make your mound. All right. You make your mound. If this is the nose, let me show you here. Hold on. This is the nose. Measure your eye. Again, it's the width of the bridge of the nose. It's that's your spot. Then and then you draw it. I go up a little bit to get that lid in there like that. And then you're gonna cut that, and then you're gonna cut the bottom, and then that mound, then you have the bag already there. That's how you do an eye, or one of the ways that you do an eye. The way that I was taught to do an eye, and pretty great way, really, pretty great way. So, um, so let's look at what I was carving. I'm gonna get into carving this. I'm working on this Native American. A love for carving Native Americans. I had a friend text me once and he's like, "How come your Native Americans aren't smiling?" And I'm like, "Do you have any idea what we did to the Native Americans?" So I kind of use this pick, and I got this pick, I think, in where we're in the Dells in Wisconsin. There's like a little museum for Native Americans. And I found that I need to use a picture. And the lessons I have with my great friend and great carver, Alec Lacasse, and you say, "Oh, you're dropping his name." Yeah, I am dropping his name because he is a great friend and an incredible artist. I'm on his wood carving school again, just excited about that. He's added so many cool videos, but he said, "Don't always go from a picture because then when I don't, I make the same mistakes, the same eyes, blah, blah, blah." So I didn't do great on these eyes cutting them out. They're not the same, but I wanted to show you. I might fiddle with this a little bit. Yeah. I want to just, put in the lids pretty flat. Remember the pyramid cut? Cut, cut, cut. Three cuts. Deeper. Always, if you don't know what to do, go deeper. Always go deeper. Shouldn't flag that much. I don't even like the looks of this. Living limited. It's a gift to my life when I learned to live limited, that I just can't do everything. There's some things that just be everything. But sometimes in America, we live like there are no limits. We can just do whatever we want, eat the way we want, have whatever vices we want. And there'll be no uh, recompense. There'll be no reap what you sow. That's a universal law. It's not just in the Bible. We're all going to reap what we sow. And if you're living unlimited and your time and you're not sleeping good, you're not eating good, and you reap that kind of stuff. You're making poor decisions. You never say no to your kids. Living with limits important. I wrote down just a couple things. We're all limited. Our season of life is limited. And I'm 60 now. Been married almost 40 years. I didn't write those in, but I'm not going to. I'm going to move them a little out. Been married now almost 40 years. Season of life I'm in right now, they're just things I'm not doing that I used to do. I'm physically limited. Used to play racquetball very competitively, and my knees are shot. I can't play racquetball, can't run. Not that I was running a lot, but I did do a 10K once. How's that look? Limited physically, and I know what it's like to be limited financially. There are things, I have friends that can buy certain things and have certain things, and I can't. We're all limited financially in some way or another. That's why we got to count the blessings we do have. And kind of in the middle, kind of not. All right. Limited physically. I used to love staying up late. Man, I'm now at 9:30, 10 rolls around. I'm done. Limited by that. Limited by time. Can't do everything. Only have so many nights of the week. Can't say yes to everything. I have to say no to certain things. Tear duct. Don't get too elaborate on the tear duct. Some people do. Um, yeah, there's some eyes on that fella. These are good to clean up once in a while. I have magnifiers on right now. My eyesight is limited. Not what it used to be, and I do have bifocals, but eyes are important. I don't want to mess them up. I don't have to wear them all the time, but yeah, we have a lot of limits. People are limited in their seasons. If you have children or babies, you can't just go and do whatever you want. You're limited. You're limited. Limiting is but some limits in our life. I'm gonna carve here. Don't worry. Are perceived limits, and they're not necessarily limited. So I hear a lot of people, they say this to me. Oh, Nate, I can't carve. I don't have any art in me. I'm not creative. I have no talent. Whether it's a musician and I do play piano and bass, and no matter what it is, nobody woke up doing that. Everybody had to learn. I mean, some people have a propensity and some giftings. I mean, that's of course, but to say I'm just not creative, there's so many creative things people do all the time. Uh, See how you can drag this? There's so many creative things we can do all the time that we can't keep saying I can't, or I can't do that. One thing my mom, and She went to be with the Lord. I'm gonna work on the hair. I'm just gonna it's not gonna be exactly like that. I added some I just took a 915 or this one and I just made some bumps in there. And then I just took some sandpaper. I got these little rolls of sandpaper. I can cut off a little strip when I need one. And I just kind of sanded the ridges down of those because I just want to make the hair a little wavier there. But also this hair extends down over here. I want to do that. I find my V tool. It comes down over here. You know, so this will be hair and that bark. And this will be hair coming down over here. I'm gonna bring it around front here. Next, right. I don't know if you can see that. Let me adjust this a teeny bit. So don't let things limit you. There's a lady in our church. She came from the Philippines. Um, when you don't see me doing stuff and I'm just talking, I'm actually looking for the tool I need. Just graduated with her bachelor's degree, and I thought, man, that's just so cool. Some people to say you can't hardly speak English and reading English. She's learning. There's no way you can do that. Get a degree, but she did. She didn't listen to the, oh boy, that's not sharp at all. She didn't listen to the naysayers, you know. So, hello, Ellis. My little grandson is watching from the west side of Michigan on the beautiful Lake Michigan after seeing his first circus. Yeah. People say they can't do stuff. Remember when I was in high school and I felt like I had to be a pastor, but I'd never done college stuff and I never planned on going to college. And my counselor told me, one of the counselors said, you know what? You'll never make it in college, Nate. You're not college material. Pray you just get a job at the factory in town and you can retire there because that's all you're going to do. And I remember leaving her office and being like, you know what? She just ticked me off and challenged me. Then I went to college and I'm sitting there the first day of college. I never forget this in my dorm room, looking at all those syllabi. And I thought to myself, I can't go to college. And I heard her voice, you're not college material. But sometimes there are limits that we think are set and they're just perceived limits. We can break those limits, we can overcome them. And I know a lot of overcomers who have done some unbelievable things. People said they couldn't do it. And of course, there's a lot in history that we could talk about. I'm just changing the shape of the hair so it doesn't look flat and it doesn't look like I'm going to carve in cornrows. I have to figure that out. Yeah. Take some 220 from my roll. I got a little roll over here. You see this 150, 220, 400, 600, and then I just pull off some and I just cut what I need. If I don't need a big piece, and I usually don't for this kind of stuff. You can roll it. Just knock the edges off of those. So if people are telling you there's something you can't do, or there's some limits, you got to accept them. Like I'm never going to the moon. I'm never going to be a professional football player. I mean, some things are just wisdom, but when I was 40 and I wanted to go back to school and go to seminary and get my master's degree, and I was 40, didn't finish till I was 45. And there's some people like, you're gonna go back to school at your age. A lot of people do it now. So glad I don't listen to the haters, as we say, or the people that, and then talk to guys that say, oh, I could never carve that, I could never carve wood. Well, I've had a lot of great lessons, and I love carving wood, and I've worked hard at it, and I've studied it, and I've watched YouTube videos, and I didn't just wake up and start carving wood. You got to practice and develop your gift, whatever that gift is, and not only develop it to be good at it, but just to do it because it's fun. It's fun to do art and work with your hands, and it's also good for mental health. A lot of studies on that, isn't it? So now I'm going to take a 9-6. All right, 9-6, and I'm gonna run it in those holes I just did, those grooves, not completely. Again, I'm being a little random here, getting the part. So limited, live limited. Don't say yes to everything. No, you can't do everything. No, we have limits financially. We have limits. You just gotta accept them. You can't do everything. Your kids can't be in everything. We're limited. There are some things we think we're limited at, and we're not. There might be some of those limits that you need to be bust through those babies. Some good help, hard work, persistent faith. I'm gonna leave some of this bark up here for now. Back in there. It can be a challenge. Good limits are challenging limits. Yeah. Well, no mistakes that can't be fixed in wood carving. Ready for recap. All right. And now I'm gonna take an 11 veiner and and I'm gonna go around again in some of these in different, I call them elevations. So I'm going deep and not deep, because some of the areas you want to accent. Shadowing makes carvings come alive, and you only get shadows when you go deep. This is just the way this hair is going to be, but sometimes hair, I'm not the best at hair, but I like doing hair. So we'll put that up. All hair is not straight. I don't think there's too much straight hair at all in the world. So you gotta keep things moving. Do some S's. 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 S's and C's. S's and C's. Thank you. Hi, Grandpa. So, art was a challenge for me in a season of my life where I was limited. I started my first carving experience was in 2007 when Marty just let me run a chisel up through some red cedar down in Indiana. And I love that. But I still had kids, and they were young, and school and sports and youth group, and I just couldn't. I know I started in 2007. I should be somebody told me, well, you should be way better than you are now, but I haven't been carving like that like I am now. my kids became adults and got married and moved out. Of course, now I have a little more time. I still have a full-time job. I pastor a church in town here. My wife and I started 30 years ago, and so I still have a full-time job. Okay, see that? I'm gonna go back with that 220. Just gonna hit some of these. Take some of those ridges off. I'm gonna do one more step. So I had to, like, a lot of times just put off carving, and church was growing, and wanted to be present with my kids as much as I could. And so, yeah, 19 years, I probably should be better than I am now, but I haven't been carving consistently in all that time. And started doing portraits and realism, Native Americans, because that's kind of my passion. That's why I've been instructed with Alec, Lacasse, Vic Hood took a class out last fall with him out the gathering of woodcarvers in Illinois. Just carved with Billy Reynolds. I do love the realism of portrait carving. Really do. So let's see how that looks. I do want to show you another set of eyes that is different. If I can take this out without. These are the eyes I did. Again, I just cut there. But the way that I was taught eyes by Vic Hood, the way he does it is he pushes that in, kind of carves that out, but then gets a wood burner in there. I really like that. It darkens it up. Cottonwood burns too hard, so it doesn't do that. But look at this green man. I did the face. So I burned those in. So I took that 11 millimeter, 11 3 millimeter, and stabbed it in there, scooped around it, then burned with a wood burner. Um, got a good wood burner around there. So that's a good way to do eyes. Um, different, different. So yeah. So I have one more step. I want to show you what I do with hair. Again, this isn't the only way to do it, but it's the way I do it. Get this situated. So the other step I do is I take a V tool, and I'm not Ving everything. Okay, I'm not going to go back in and V everything. I'm going to V some things. I'm going to go in deep in a couple places. Okay, see that? It's just little touches where I'm going in maybe a little deeper than everything else, giving it some shadow. Something needs to be here. Some movement. Some S's. I got to figure this out. I'm not sure what I'm going to do. In the front. I got to work on this neck and get it symmetrical. But you see that? So, the hair thing is kind of a few stages that we did. Sometimes I'm go real intricate, but I didn't. If I was going to make parts in the hair and little clumps, then, you do a lot more runs with a V tool. But I want to get better at hair. So a lot of people think, you got to be a perfect carver to teach or to do YouTube or anything like that, but it's really not true. It's not true. Um, all carvers that are carving on YouTube or whatever, and there's some fantastic, talented, wonderful men and women carving, but all of them want to get better, and all of them are not good at every kind of carving. Trying to figure out what's wrong with that neck. So, that's eyes and a little bit of hair tonight. A little bit of wisdom about living limited, accepting your limits, breaking through those limits, power of God and faith and hard work and tenacity. Yeah, that's good stuff. Awesome. If you got any questions, you want to type those in, that'd be great. Go ahead and type those in if you want. I'm going to call it here in a second. Appreciate you joining me, whether you're joining live or you're watching this later. Just the fact you tune in and watch me carve is humbling. There's lots of other more talented guys, but it's going to be good. Awesome. So thanks for tuning in tonight. A load of wood carving wisdom. Touch eyes. Again, if you can get a piece of wood like this or a corner or any kind of scrap wood, practice eyes. Marty made a whole row of these once along here, and I just carved eyes. Just carved eyes. I mean, it wasn't fun. It's like doing scales on the piano or doing drills and wrestling practice or doing chords or exercises, muscle memory. There's a lot to be said about all of that in artistic. But the important thing is you're having fun. You're enjoying some peace and contentment. You're working with your hands. You're enjoying what you're doing, not just the finished pieces, but just the process of carving, the smell, the bark, the sounds. All really great stuff. Appreciate y'all. Thanks for tuning in. Please uh, do me a favor, and you know the drill. If you enjoy this, would you just like it and maybe subscribe to this channel, share it with a friend, and I look forward to having you back in the shop uh, next Thursday. All right. Take care.